January 1959, 10 young Soviet hikers set off into the Ural Mountains. One turned back early. The other 9 were never seen alive again. This is the Dyatlov Pass Incident, and after 65 years, nobody has fully explained what happened. The group. On January 23, 1959, 23-year-old Igor Alexeyevich Dyatlov led a team of 8 experienced hikers and skiers, mostly students from the Ural Polytechnical Institute in Sverdlovsk. 7 men, 2 women, all in their early 20s, all experienced. Their goal was to reach the peak of Mount Otorten, a Category 3 difficulty expedition, the highest classification in Soviet hiking. These were not amateurs. They had done this before. The team included Zinaida Kolmogorova, Rustem Slobodin, Lyudmila Dubinina, Alexander Kolevatov, Semyon Zolotaryov, a sports instructor and the oldest at 38, Nikolai Thibault Brignol, and Yuri Krivonyshenko, who had previously worked at a Soviet nuclear facility. 5 days in, one hiker, Yuri Yudin, turned back due to a sciatic flare-up. It was a decision that saved his life. He would spend the rest of his days wondering what really happened to his friends. He died in 2013 without ever getting an answer. The last night. On the evening of February 1st, 1959, the group set up camp on the slope of Ural Mountain. They pitched their tent, ate dinner, wrote in their diaries. The last diary entries were casual, normal, no sign of fear. Then, something happened. When the search party arrived weeks later, they found the tent still standing, but slashed open from the inside, cut with a knife from within. The hikers had fled barefoot into -30-degree temperatures. No shoes, no coats, no supplies. The bodies. The first 5 bodies were found spread across the snow over a mile from the tent. Igor Dyatlov and Zinaida Kolmogorova were found separately, both frozen in positions that suggested they were trying to crawl back to the tent. They had died trying to return. Rustem Slobodin was found nearby with a fractured skull, but the fracture alone was not considered fatal. He died of hypothermia. 2 others, Doroshenko and Krivonyshenko, were found huddled together near the remains of a small fire. Their hands were burned. They had torn strips from their own clothing and wrapped them around their feet. They burned to stay warm and still froze to death. The worst ones. Months later, after the snow melted, the final 4 bodies were found buried under 4 meters of snow in a ravine. These were the ones that made no sense. Nikolai Thibault Brignol had a catastrophic skull fracture. Semyon Zolotaryov and Lyudmila Dubinina had massive chest fractures, multiple ribs broken on both sides simultaneously. The forensic examiner said the force required was comparable to a high-speed car crash. But there were no external wounds, no bruising on the skin. Something had crushed them from inside. And then there was Dubinina. Her tongue was missing. Her eyes were missing. Parts of her lips were gone. The Soviet government called it decomposition. Critics called it something else entirely. The cover-up. The investigation was closed in May 1959, just weeks after the last bodies were found. The official cause: a compelling natural force. The files were immediately classified. The area around Ural was sealed off for 3 years. No explanation was given for why. It was only decades later, after the Soviet Union collapsed, that new details emerged. The lead investigator, Lev Ivanov, admitted in 1990 that he had been pressured by senior officials to dismiss reports of glowing orange orbs seen in the sky that night. Multiple witnesses from another hiking group 50 kilometers away reported seeing them. Ivanov believed they were connected. He was told to stay quiet. The theories. Theory 1. Avalanche. Russian authorities officially concluded in 2019 that a slab avalanche caused the panic. But there were no signs of an avalanche at the scene. The hikers' footprints were still clearly visible in the snow. The tent was still standing. The area was not known for avalanches. Most researchers reject this. Theory 2. Infrasound. When high winds hit the dome-shaped summit of Kholat Syakhl, they create spinning vortices that produce infrasound, low-frequency sound waves below human hearing. A 2003 study found that infrasound causes intense panic, nausea, and the overwhelming feeling that something is terribly wrong. The theory suggests the hikers woke up in blind terror and ran, not knowing why, not able to stop. But infrasound doesn't crush ribs. It doesn't remove a tongue. Theory 3. Soviet military testing. In 1959, the Soviets were testing parachute mines in the region, weapons that detonate in the air and cause massive internal injuries with no external wounds. Radiation was found on several items of clothing. Krivonishenko had worked at a nuclear facility. The orange orbs in the sky matched descriptions of Soviet military rockets, and the injuries, bones shattered, no bruising, match exactly what a pressure wave weapon would do. Lev Ivanov, the man who ran the original investigation, later said he believed the hikers had encountered something the Soviet government did not want to explain.